It's a javelin shell.
You can rotate all of them or one at the moment.
One ok, two bad. You
Three
see,
ok,
you see.
four ok.
Here he has launched all the 4 motors, but we see this one is not rotating, so it's broken. Very often it malfunctions, and through this diagnostic he can understand what's wrong with the drone, and then he can address this issue precisely.
Class. In all honesty, when we're getting bad components in the drones, do you think it's more that people are just trying to save money, or they're intentionally doing this, like to make profit for themselves?
Who offer their help, but they say like we're gonna print it, and they don't want to share that actually do this good for them.
Nobody wants to
Nobody wants to share. Yeah.
So drones are from volunteer organizations, or both?
All of them. All of them. So the biggest issue.
I'm now launching a new series of videos chronicling our work with 25 Brigade in support of their drone houses. Since October, we've contributed about $42,000 in charging stations like EcoFlows, drone components, generators, and direct cash transfers. In these videos, we're going to cover munitions, the bomb house, how to convert VOG rounds, Soviet, or how to convert javelins for drone purposes. We're going to talk about fixed-wing drones. You're going to see what I can show you, long-range programs. The biggest problems with FPVs, how we receive cheap or outdated components which must be replaced. You're going to see that work. We're also going to talk about 3D printing. Many people message who are 3D print enthusiasts and they want to send things. Many people do. Quite often it has no purpose or no home. Unfortunately, we don't share the MTL, STL files, but we're going to talk about that in all these videos. My previous ones had great views, and I hope for great monetary support. Enjoy. So we will need minimum how many kilowatt generator?
Должен быть именно однофазный.
It must be one phase.
One phase, single phase power.
Yes.
Single
This
phase.
is two single phase power.
This one is two single, but for the generator it has to be one single.
8 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt, може?
10?
Ну, 8-10 дали.
8-10. Окей.
Наразі цього вистачає на 2, максимум 3 години, якщо працює вся лабораторія.
If, like full capacity to 3 hours.
2-3 hours.
This one can do.
Ну,
Maybe less.
3, да, можливо менше, щоб хоча б...
Off the power.
Mm-hmm.
Switched off right now. There's no power and it's really important because inverter we convert straight away. So you will never have actually, you're not going to lose the power. Yep.
Okay. But 2-3 hours max.
Yeah.
Max. 2-3 hours.
3 hours, but half of the left.
Half, yeah. And we lose the prints. No good, no good. Dobre.
There's a volunteers in Ukraine who offer their help, but they say like we're gonna print it, and they don't want to share that actually do this good for them.
Nobody wants to
Nobody wants to share. Yeah.
and it's the same with MTL, STL files. No one is sharing this.
На сьогодні лабораторія спалює близько 10 кг пластика за день.
Today we're burning about 10 kilograms of plastic.
10 kilograms of plastic per day.
Yeah.
Yes.
The biggest problem, it seems, with me, with the volunteer, whether it's foreign volunteer or Ukrainian, nobody wants to lose their purpose or their work, so they never give money and they want to do the work themselves, even if it costs more and kills efficiency.
Більше тут зараз проблема, що
Правильно сказати.
They give this plastic?
sometimes there is one person, there is one volunteer who would send 200-300
Kilograms.
But it's not like regularly, just sometimes.
Thank you very much. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Добре. Наступне.
Ну, погнали.
Да?
We only charge the accumulators 24/7. 24/7.
Just charging batteries,
batteries,
batteries. 18 how many 18650s are in here?
Скільки тут 18 650?
Просто сотні акумуляторів.
Like hundreds of accumulators, all of them are different. Hundreds of them. Here the workplaces are located. The main engineer stays here. They prepare the drones for combat.
Готується сотні дронів на добу.
Hundreds a day.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
I think they went here.
What are the biggest issues that you're dealing with drones that you are receiving?
So mostly we have certain issues with the details of the drones that we have to fix here.
Yeah, these are donated drones.
Yes,
They're
yes.
official drones or from volunteer organizations, or
All
both.
of them. All of them. So the biggest issue are VTX at the moment because it's a
The
rather
video transmission.
video transmission. Yeah, it's a rather costly detail. The price can range between 2,000 hryvnias to 3,500.
Yes.
Very often it malfunctions, and you know, if you don't receive the video signal, you cannot control the drone. And very often, you know, we have to change the antennas, we have to change the receivers. The receivers, by the way, cost between 300 and 1,700 hryvnias, yet most likely the problem is with the transmitter, and the transmitter is a very costly detail. So if we receive a drone and the transmitter is wrong or it malfunctions, we really need a lot of funds to cover the cost of the reparation of the drone.
When you have a faulty component, say for example a VTX, can this be used in any other operations for other drones, or must you throw them away?
It rain. It
Is it
might be
possible-
different.
is it
Sometimes,
possible?
no. Theoretically, sometimes you know, it is the mistake. It's the mistake of the people that assembled the drone before us. So if they put a wrong detail, but the whole detail is functional,
Yes.
it's one thing. So we can remove it and put it on another device.
Like for example, maybe the solder was incorrect.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's simple.
Yeah,
Everything is good, but
yeah, but sometimes you know, sometimes when people want to actually save money, they buy the cheaper details like VTX. It may there are a lot of manufacturers that produce cheap VTX, but I mean they are malfunctional. So when this happens, you know, we have to take them out, throw them away, and buy the proper ones that will be more expensive. And that's why we require more funding. And sometimes it's not enough. We're trying our best, yet we're spending all of our personal savings here,
Yes.
from our own pocket, from our own salary. Yet we cannot always cover the cost of the repair. So that's why we would really appreciate any kind of funding, any kind of volunteer support. It's not just for ourselves, it's for the drones to be fixed and to be operational.
understood. In all honesty, when we're getting bad components in the drones, do you think it's more that people are just trying to save money, or they're intentionally doing this, like to make profit for themselves?
Well, you know, most likely when it's volunteer help, I mean, it comes from a genuine perception of people that thus they're doing things better, so we'll make more drones. But it's not the way
No.
it is. It's worse. It's like, it's better we have 2 functional VTXs than we have 5 non-functional.
Of course.
But I doubt, you know, that, I mean, we're mostly working with volunteers, with donation, we depend on those donations. So when we know those people, the volunteers, so sometimes they make mistakes, you know, we inform them about that so they don't repeat this. And and it's I mean the whole drone sphere nowadays, it's not a single, you know, we don't have single manufacturing facility like
Of
a
course.
factory that makes those, because if had it been large single factory, of course it could be some money laundering, it could be some kind of corruption and so on, like buying cheap things while putting high price tags and so on. But here it's not the case. It's like the people who have good intentions, but finally they end up with a result that's not great.
I also thought this, but I wanted to ask you because with tourniquets, there has been scandals,
Yeah,
but
of
the
course.
majority of it was people who meant good and thought more was better. It took us over 2 years to,
No,
to
it's
educate
like,
Ukraine and
it's-
the world
you make
about tourniquet.
worse. You literally make worse. Like, it's better you don't apply a tourniquet at all than you
Apply a
apply
Chinese.
a bad one, because actually if a medic's gonna arrive with a normal tourniquet, you know, he will have to spend time and risk endanger a person's life removing the old one, the one that is malfunctional, that is fake one.
This concept took us over 2 years to teach the world, and we're
it's a good
and
example.
but we're doing this with drones now.
It's a good.
We're
it's a
going
good
through
example. But you know, the examples from the tourniquets, when you have the photos of dead bodies where you see that the people died of critical hemorrhage, and it's visible, it's
It's
visual,
obvious.
it's intense. You know, it's like visual. You see it. You see the whole horror of the situation. So it's very visual. And with drones, you know, there are details, metal parts, you know, but still the result is the same. Our drones are not able to fly. Russians can assault our positions, people get killed, and the result is the same. Death, suffering, like sustaining critical injuries, while it could have been avoided. Think of it, you know, tourniquets could be a very good graphic representation of why it is important to use the proper materials and proper details. Because, but the same applies to other military spheres, like your armor. Like, you don't want to save money buying your the plates for your plate carrier, because
You're not buying that at Epicenter.
yes. The same applies to drone especially. Those are electronics. Those are technologies. And especially with that thing that are not manual, you need some kind of investment, and it needs to be to have this certain kind of quality standard.
Of course. But much more complicated than tourniquets.
It's much more complicated, yet the very
The principle.
core principle is the same. If you wanna save money to buy more cheap things, then you could have bought less things, but the ones of proper quality. You are just wasting your money. There is like an English proverb, like, I'm not rich enough to buy cheap things. Why? Because cheap things, they break down more often, and finally you'll spend more money, because you will have to buy a whole bunch of cheap things, and finally only after then, learning from your past mistakes, you'll come to a decision where you actually want to save money and save yourself the troubles and buy the things of proper quality.
It's like people who have some money but they're not rich, they buy Toyota. It's the same. You buy a Toyota, you know what you're getting every day. Let's go. Yeah.
Що то водний стоїть? Що за хуйня?
Частина, тут три локації внизу, тут просто найбільша майстерня.
Class. Wow. What the fuck? What is this? Shotam. You need to come in here and you need to see this. Yeah.
Are you talking about the huge bear over there?
Тут у нас дівчинка просто одна.
Who are these people? Luis. There.
Що з ними, ми не знаємо.
They don't know what's the issue with these drones.
Okay.
Ми починаємо з діагностики.
They start the conducting checks, you know, diagnostics of the drone.
Беремо.
They take. He
Першим
takes the
ділом
drone.
запускаю ноутбук.
He turns on app there.
Yes.
Беремо, дрон підключаю Betafly першим ділом.
He plugs it in the drone.
It's a diagnostic.
Yeah. It's diagnostic. Yeah. So here he can address some of the troubleshooting. He finds out the source of the issue here. So through this diagnostic, he can understand what's wrong with the drone, and then he can address this issue precisely.
Class. Just like the car, you plug it in. You get the code. You have it's a code system that will tell you what's wrong, like the same as a car.
There are different tabs. You know, he can test the props to make them rotate. Actually,
Yes.
while plugged on the app, it will simulate the drone flight.
All the
flight
function, the
itself.
circuitry connect where the
And-
electron.
And then through diagnostics, it will show which system of the drone actually malfunction here. So like this, we understand what parts we should address, what we should change, and then we delve deeper. So we go from the general to the precise. So to
Same as a
localize
mechanic.
the problem. Yeah.
Same as a medic. Diagnose protocol. Do your protocol.
Like in philosophy, it's the same in philosophy. All the sciences have this principle that you go from general to specific.
Починаємо діагностику. Починаємо ходити по настройкам, де які у нас порти простроєні, UART, де щось сидить, є якісь ошибочки.
So he goes to the ports to see whether all the ports are connected. So
Yes.
actually the drone can read the signals from all of its details.
Дякую.
And of course, he needs to go through the protocol, so he will do it like a pilot.
Of course, yeah. He does it, he can see, you know, the goggles are important so we can actually check the detail that I spoke before, the VTX, whether we can receive the video signal, you know, so that's why he has his goggles here, so he can check actually whether he will receive the picture from the drone. So here, through Betaflight, you can configure all of the components of the drone. You can change the motors, the props, the VTX,
Everything.
everything, all the details, everything can be checked here.
Перевіряємо аукси.
You can
Де
change
настроєні
aux.
аукси, на яких портах у нас.
Aux are like are actually the presets. For example, you can make 3 custom settings for the frequency, and then you change the aux by turning these levers. So he can check what are the settings, because it's not only about the mechanic thing and engineering, not only about assembling the drones, but it's about fine-tuning it and setting it up through Betaflight, so you can find the best settings, and also to facilitate the control of the drone with a controller. So you see this one is frequently used for arming the drone. This one is most frequently used to change the frequency of the drone, because the power of the signal, because at first you don't need to launch your drone at a high signal power, because you will be spotted. However, when your drone flies further, you will need to switch your signal to make signal stronger, so you still receive the feedback from the drone, so you can maintain control over it. So, and all of that is being done with Betaflight, and every single one of the drones, each individual drone has to be manually set up through Betaflight, and it also requires some knowledge, some programming skills. So it's not only about hardware; it's about software, and software, it doesn't require that much money, that much resources, but it requires
Good engineer.
Maybe not engineer, most likely people who programming skills, who are good with working with computers, with programming, and mostly software requires a knowledgeable person, a person that is professional at what one is doing.
Я перевіряю відео. Працює ли
Now they
VTX?
check whether VTX works.
yeah.
You see? Now he goes to the special. Actually, there are different tabs in Betaflight on your left, like settings, ports, and here we can see it's a video transmitter. So Everything is written here. It's very Betaflight has a very user-friendly interface actually. So it's
Yes.
very smart and very intuitive.
But this is the same program in principle the American hobbyists use too.
Yes, but you can set
We can
it
use
up.
for anyone.
Yeah, but we, for example, sometimes for our drones we use custom firmware
Of
that
course.
was developed by our programmers that started with Betaflight, and finally they developed the best solution for the military, you know, for combat, for applying those ideas in combat.
This we don't talk about, but yes, of course, he's...
I mean, not the details, but in general. So when you are good, you learn the Betaflight, you will have some kind of ideas on what is necessary, what is desirable, what is not that important, which of the functions you can remove. For example, we don't need some functions that mostly deal with racing drones and so on, and flipping them around, because you won't do that.
Yes, of course.
And during racing, they always flip, you know.
Yeah.
So here he plugged in the battery. You hear the sounds.
Ready.
You see,
Wait,
it's
it's
green.
ready.
It's green, the color. And
R3 сейчас настраиваешь.
he's setting up the video transmitting.
Видео ок.
And you see actually the picture from the drone. You see here. So now you can see my face, actually.
Of course. Ugly guy. Nej, Harno.
Yeah. And yourself.
Не работа. Не працює.
The battery unplugged. You know.
Да, Metallica Motors. И теперь мы даем.
You can assign motors the rotation direction. You see there are four. There.
И запускаем.
And you set them up. You see. So it starts rotating. You can rotate all of them or one at a moment.
One at a time if you want.
One at a
One
time.
ок, two bad.
You
Three
see,
off,
you see,
four off.
here he has launched all the four motors, but we see this one is not rotating, so it's broken. So
Yes.
that's how we need to address this motor, so it's more functioning.
Simple.
Yeah.
Как не працює мотор, начинаем искать дальше причину, почему не працює.
We need to find out the reason why the motor doesn't rotate.
То есть это может быть или физическая причина,
The reason might be the pure like mechanical issue. It's like it's broken,
или электроника.
or maybe electronics.
Тому мы первым делом проверяем ESC, то есть регулятор оборотов двигателя.
So we check the ESC, the regulator.
Заходим в іншу програму.
We go to another program. You go it from the
ESC
internet
configurator.
launcher to the ESC configurator.
Переключаемся.
We plug in.
Считываем все налаштування з ESC конфигуратора.
We read the settings from the ESC configurator.
Вот мы
Like
считываем
this.
зараз.
You need to go out of Betaflight to plug into ESC configurator, so you cannot be simultaneously plugged to both programs. You know, connect your drone to them.
І що ми здесь бачимо?
And what we see here?
І ми бачимо, що у нас є перший регулятор, або регулятор обороту першого двигателя, є
We see that the ESC works with the first motor,
третього мотора,
third one,
третього і четвертого.
and the fourth one.
А другого нема.
And it doesn't recognize, doesn't see the second motor, the one that didn't rotate when we.
It's not recognizing the fault.
Yeah.
Поэтому проблема в чем у нас получается в электронике, в самом ESC, в регуляторе оборотов.
So the problem is ESC itself, so hardware.
Okay.
The detail is broken. Not the programming is working. The software is working properly. The hardware is broken. Or generally it was unfit from the beginning. You know.
And without diagnostic program, we will not know if it's software or hardware. It's impossible.
No. We
It's
need
impossible.
to make this with every drone. Every drone we have to manually plug it in, check each individual drone. So it's not like we receive a batch, we check just one of them, we set up one of them, and that's all. Every drone has to be set up because what we receive is a hardware, yet we have to set up software ourselves.
Understood.
І це лікується тільки заміна ESC.
And in this case, ESC has to be changed. The one responsible for this motor, because it cannot send the signal to the motor to rotate. And without one motor, the drone won't fly. You know, it will flip and fall down. That's how the diagnostic is being done. Here we have seen how one issue was recognized. Sometimes the other issues are uncovered. So, but in general, it's the protocol. How we do it, how we fix it. It requires time. And at the same moment, these kind of activities, setting up the software for the drones, it requires funding as well, because we need to process the vast amounts of drones, like a lot of them. We need good laptops at first, we need a lot of cables, and the more laptops we have, the more efficient we are at our job, because we're able to process even larger quantities of drone and even quicker. And very often time is of vital importance, because the units need to receive the drones as fast as possible.
Of course, keep the machine going. Very good.
Yeah, so we have to do everything in time, and that's why we need more laptops actually here. So multiple people, we've got multiple people here, can simultaneously conduct diagnostics, can set up the software of the drones, because you have to set up, put a firmware, flash them, each individual drones. It cannot be done in batches, like you plug the whole batch of drones and you have it. No, each individual drone has to be flashed, it should be set up, and so on.
Understood.
And also for the ESC configurator, we need a stable internet connection. So the Starlink would be preferable, because it cannot be tracked. We're like 50 kilometers from the front line, and sometimes the regular kind of internet connection might not be sufficient, with considering the quantity of the laptop simultaneously connected to Wi-Fi.
So Starlink Mini is out of the question. It must be Starlink Standard.
Yeah,
Generation
Mini
3, hopefully.
Yeah, it's like Generation 3 and the Roam subscription, because
Yes.
sometimes we have to move to different locations. So it would be a perfect solution, because Starlink Mini, it's not that powerful. Generation 2, it's too heavy to bring around, with that metal tripod. But Generation 3, it's perfect, it's light, you can put it almost everywhere, it's easy to transport, because very often we have to change our locations and go from one place to another. So Starlink Generation 3 and the laptop, we cannot have like usual tabletop computers, because it's they're too heavy to transport around, because sometimes we have to go out to make field tests and we have to take laptops with us. And that's also why we need Starlink to conduct some tests in the field, to go out, because very often we work in the remote areas, so we're not spotted, and we need a stable internet connection there as well.
Understood. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Будь ласка.
Thank you.
Дякую.
We're only starting here tonight. I'm going to have a lot of work to do.
You can film it.
Це ідеальний літак для збиття повітряних цілей.
It's a perfect
В даному дроні була заміна рол, піч двигунів, шлейфа камери та кронштейна камери, наданого волонтерами. Велика подяка Брендану Мічелу. Також було відремонтовано корпус, проклейка з армуванням і відремонтований підвіз камери, також проклейка з армуванням. Дрон буде виконувати бойові завдання на Покровському напрямі.